Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, a spiritual medium and intuitive coach, and I'm so excited that you are here for this intuitive development journey. Hello, you guys. I know it has been a while since I have last released an episode. I had taken a couple of a few unexpected weeks off. Um, and I'm not going to lie, you guys, I feel like the Scorpio energy has hit me really hard. I have been going through a lot of major life tests and transitions and have really just been being tested over and over again by my guides, by the creator, by source, and have really being asked to take a good long look at a lot of things. And the energy for me, unfortunately, has been very heavy the last few weeks. And so I had taken some time to make sure that my energy was in the right place before I hopped on the microphone, because I don't think anyone wants to hear me sobbing on the microphone, essentially. So I've definitely taken a little bit of a step back, but I'm back because this episode I recorded actually a few last month, and it needs to come out. It needed to come out because I have such an incredible guest who has created the most incredible children's book, you guys. And it is actually beyond words the most magical thing you will ever see in your life. This guest, her name is Kayla Silver, and she is a client of mine, and I had to have her on the show because she channeled this book through her guides. It came to her through a meditation. It came through to her like through a complete channeling experience. And I needed to share with you because not only this, she is like the most shining example of someone who doesn't claim to be a medium of any kind, but just really connected to through meditation to her intuition and let what needed to come through come through. And when she did, literal pure magic happened. And she's going to get into all of the details of what happened and how this book came about. But you guys, this is not just any children's book. If you are listening to this episode on a podcast, I'm going to strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to go and check the link in the show notes and watch this recording, this episode on YouTube, because this book is very visual. It is not a regular children's book. It is an interactive children's book. And we're going to include some clips of what this book really does. There are pictures in this book, and when you hold either an iPad or a phone over it, there's a QR code that you scan, and the pictures come to life. With the pictures, like they start to move, and there's music that goes along with it, and it literally takes you into this magical world. This book is called Rosie and Raven, and it's about a little fairy and a little girl, and it is, guys, like, just listening about it like doesn't do it justice. Just even seeing the book doesn't do it justice. You have to have this book in your hands to feel the magic that is this book. And you can feel the fairy energy that she channeled through when creating this book. I'm so in love with this book, and I'm not the only one who's so in love with this book. Kayla announces this on the podcast, and it's officially out publicly, but this book is on Oprah's 40 favorite things for the holiday season. So this has been actually like checked out, like held by Oprah herself. She has hand selected it and chosen it as one of her favorite things of the year. So now it's everywhere. This book is now #1 on Amazon. It is all over the place, and it is a must-have gift for any child in your life this holiday season. I don't even celebrate Christmas, and I am like pushing this so hard as like the best Christmas gift that is out there. Guys, you don't understand. This book is so magical. So I'm so excited for you to get to meet Kayla. And if you do get a chance to hop on YouTube, I'm going to put the link in the show notes to just see what the magic is of this book. And I do hold up the book a lot in the interview, so you can just look at the most incredible pictures. And the reason I really needed this book, like I needed Kayla to be on this, is because I think she's just such a shining example of what it looks like to follow your intuition, even if you don't feel like you're such an experienced intuitive, that you don't feel like you're a medium. You don't have to be, right? But when you do follow those inklings, when you do let those ideas come through and the inspiration come through, and then you take action on it and you let source work through you, magic, pure magic is what happens. And not only was there magic in how this book came to life, there was magic in how this book got in the hands of the people who it needed to get into the hands of for this book to become such a brilliant knockout of the park success. And there's just no more inspiring story than this one. So I'm so excited for you to get to meet Kayla and hear her story about how she channeled this incredible idea for a children's book, how she created this beautiful AI technology that goes along with the book. Definitely, if you can follow along with us on YouTube, it's going to be worth it. And if not, just grab the link in the show notes and go and grab this book. You will not be disappointed. It is stunning and beautiful and amazing, and she's so talented. So I'm so excited to introduce Kayla to you. But before we do, Scorpio month, as hard as this season has been for me, it is still my birthday month, and I want to celebrate. I want to move away from the heavy energy that I have been experiencing the last couple of weeks, and I want to lean into my birthday energy, and I want to give you guys a gift for my birthday. This month on November 18th, I am turning 33. And 33 is a good number. It's an angel number. And so I'm going to have a big, huge flash sale. Everything on my website is going to be 33% off. Just use the code Scorpio33 and you're going to get 33% off spiritual guidance sessions, packages, the course, my membership, everything. So anything that you've been thinking about, if you've been on the edge of working with me in any capacity, you wanted to grab the course, you wanted to work with me or just have a session, now's your chance. I want it to be my gift to you. So from November, from this week, as when this comes out, whatever date, this Friday, until the end of November, Scorpio 33, and you're going to get 33% off all spiritual guidance sessions and everything else on the site. So that's my birthday gift to you, and I can't wait to celebrate with you. Don't forget that I also do have a package of 3, and that is also going to be 33% off. So that package was 3 for the price of 2, and that's going to be even reduced even more. So now's the time to go grab it. You don't have to use them all for yourself. You can buy it for you and gift the other 2 to some friends or people you love. Definitely the biggest sale I've ever had. Yes, enjoy the birthday gift. And without further ado, I really am so incredibly excited to introduce you to the amazing, the incredibly talented and magical Kayla Silver. Well, welcome, Kayla, to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I am so incredibly excited to have you here.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for this episode and to do this interview with you because not like the story that even you and I have had together is just so inspiring. And the work that you have created and put into the world, I think everybody needs to know about it. Everybody needs to hear about it. And I feel like I had to have you here because the process in which this project came through is just magical. There's no other word for it. It's so
There's no other word. Yeah.
and
I
so,
say that word a lot.
right? It is. It's just so magical. And so I really want everyone to get to know you a little bit. But before we dive into all of that, the first question I love to ask all of my guests is, what does intuition mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes you get it confused with things that you really want, So you gotta have a little discernment there. Do I want it, or is it something that my soul is driving me to? But for me, it's an easy answer to a question. It's like it depends. It sometimes comes into my body, sometimes comes into my mind, sometimes comes into my heart. I'm not sure how it works, but it sort of nudges me in a certain direction. Sometimes it can even feel like a physical sort of nudge. And especially when it comes to my artwork, it's all about flow and letting ideas just come out and not saying, no, like not knowing it, just going straight through it and just saying yes to the things that feel good and right and natural.
Yes, yes. And it really is such a flow, right? Like it's something that
Mhm.
it's subtle, but you got to pay attention to it and it works through you and with you all the time.
It does. It really does.
Absolutely. Well, you are an absolutely incredible artist, children's book author, published children's book author, and so many other things. And I would love for you to share with everybody just a little bit about your story. What What sort of brought you to where you are now? You've written this really incredible book, and we're definitely going to dive into everything about Rosie and Raven today. But I'm curious more about your background. Can you dive in a little bit into your childhood for us? Where were you born and raised? What did your childhood look like? What brought you to this point of I need to write this book?
Whole life story condensed in 2 minutes. Let's go.
Go for
So,
it.
so I was born in Baltimore to a really kind of artistic and medically inclined family. So my mom's side of the family is very they're healers, they're academics, they're I don't know if you call them like tech people, but they're definitely like they're right brained. And then oh sorry, they're left brained. And then the for my father's side of the family, they're more like therapists and artists and photographers and just they're a little bit more right brain. So I definitely kind of got that nice split between both. And then I went to art kind of schools my whole life. So I was always an artist. I came out of the womb, like, I think, with a paintbrush. And I ended up going to a high school called Baltimore School for the Arts in Baltimore. And that was a really cool school because I got about 4 hours a day of art training and then 4 hours a day of academics. So it was you had to audition to get in, and it was very small, but really interesting school. So I had great training. Went off to college, and I was like, I don't want to do art anymore. I'm going to be a doctor, and that quickly faded away because well, that was not what my soul wanted. I mean, I really wanted to be an artist, even though I didn't know how I was gonna like make money at that. So I ended up moving to New York after college and pursued a career as an art director. So I started working for actually my first job, interestingly enough, was for a medical education company, but I was doing art direction for them. So I was sort of doing partly like what thought I wanted to do, but I still had this artistic thing that I was able to explore as well. So I did that for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years in New York. And it just wasn't feeling like that was the right career for me. Just pharmaceuticals and medical. It's just like, I don't know, it wasn't that inspiring after a while. So split my whole life upside down, ended up moving out to California with my sister and got a job in a completely different field in fashion. So that actually ended up being really fun. So I was a graphic designer for this a temp job as a graphic designer for this fashion trade show company that would put on these big events. And I was doing all the art for the events. And over the course of years at that company, clawed my way to the top and ended up being the creative director for that company for a number of years. And that was where, interestingly enough, my artistic style started to sort of come back out. So I started to there was a campaign that we did. I've actually like never really talked about this story, but it's interesting. So there was a campaign that we did, and I wanted to shoot these women, but create these sort of surreal backgrounds for them and put them into these really cool worlds. So I was pouring paint and creating environments out of the collage pieces of paint. And while that was a really cool campaign, it wasn't the success that I was hoping that it would be for that particular company, but it got my brain moving in a different direction artistically, and I started to get really obsessed with that direction, and I started making paintings that were that. So started just creating a whole body of work, and I just rediscovered the artistic side that I hadn't really been exploring very much through the years, and it took over. So started creating this really cool feminine work that was showing these kind of I would shoot women in the community. So I do these photographs of women in my community, and I would turn them into the goddesses that they are and that how I saw them. And that ended up being this really intuitive process. So talk about intuition, like the stories I could tell you about some of these paintings, what would come through. A really quick one. So one of the paintings, I had taken a picture of a woman in a jungle, like at a festival at a jungle. And 2 years later, I thought, I'm ready to revisit that photograph. I want to make a piece out of that. So what I did was my heart was like, nah, I don't want her in the jungle. I want to put her in the desert. So I put her in Joshua Tree specifically because I had all this imagery that I had taken from Joshua Tree. So I put her in Joshua Tree and I created this gorgeous image of her just like with crystals in the desert, very, very desert vibes, all about like heart opening, Kundalini energy. Okay. So I track this woman down to send her the image. And I was like, I just wanted to see if like you'd be okay if I use this. And she said, she's like, that's so amazing that you, she's like, that's so amazing that you chose Joshua Tree. She's like, I had my Kundalini awakening in Joshua Tree. So
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. So a lot of my work, I would say most of my paintings have an element of that where I pull something about a person and it goes into the painting and I don't know why. It's just, it feels right. And that's what the intuition part is. Like, no, she's definitely not in the jungle. She's definitely in Joshua Tree. And specifically, that was where she had her Kundalini awakening. So as I started doing this creative process, I realized that there was some kind of psychic thing happening. And it ended up, that's my way of being psychic. Like that's my gift. I don't have your gift, but I have a gift. And it's through art that the messages come through. So every single time I would do a painting, that's what it was like. And it was just blowing my mind. My art was making me, like my art was creating me. I was learning things through my own art. And it started to sort of take over my life. And I really didn't want to be sitting at my computer doing this work for other people. I just wanted to do my own work. Careful what you wish for. so,
Oh, no.
so I guess so that job quit me. There was a big merger acquisition, and I got severance, which was great. And I spent 5 months screwing off. And then I was in Bali for a while, and then I came back and I got a new job. And I sat down and I wrote this in my journal. So I have this little like magic journal that I was writing in, and I was doing these little manifestations. And this one was a specific one. And I just, I wrote down, I need a source of income that lets me do my art. That was how specific I was. You got to be more specific. Okay. Just be a little bit more specific, but I didn't know. So 1 week later, I got a job. I got an interview with this company, and it wasn't in all what I wanted, and it wasn't where I wanted. It was downtown. I didn't even understand what I'd be doing exactly, and it wasn't the right job for me. But I went through a bunch of interviews with this person, and he ended up creating this job for me. It wasn't the income that I wanted. So he's like, well, how about we just say you don't have to work on Fridays? Okay. So that gives me an extra day in the week that I could work on my art. That's 3 days I can work on my art. So
Mhm.
that's cool. And it was a source of income. It wasn't it wasn't the best way I wanted to be spending my time, but also it wasn't a hard job. So there was a lot of downtime, and I was able to work on my ideas. And actually through time I taught myself how to animate, because that's when I first saw augmented reality. So I saw augmented reality at a trade show. Sorry, at like a tech show, and I lost my mind. So the way augmented reality works is if you hold your phone up to an image, the image changes through the phone, but of course this image stays the same, and the image changes on your phone. So it reveals this kind of hidden world, and it never ceases to excite me. Even though I've been working in this now for almost 10 years, it still blows my mind when I see it done well. And when I first saw it, I thought, I need to do that to my art. So what did I do? Nothing. I did nothing for the next 8 months. I, for the next 8 months, I sat on it, and it just looked really hard because when I started looking into it, I realized I was going to have to learn how to animate, and I didn't know how to do that, and it just seemed really overwhelming. So I sat on it, and then I had an art show coming up like 3 weeks later. And of course, like, give me a deadline. Just give me a deadline. So 3 week deadline. Now's a good time to start learning how to animate. Like, now's the time, right? So I started doing a little research, and I just took to it. I just took to it like a fish to water. I don't know what it was. Like, I just understood it. I opened up the program and I started doing some tutorials, and I was like, I don't know. I kind of like, this doesn't feel that hard to me. And it's a hard program, but it didn't feel that hard. And I was able to animate 3 paintings in 3 weeks. So
Wow.
by the time my show happened, I was one of the first people in LA to do augmented reality in this way. So I had this show, and everyone just lost their minds. Like, everyone just freaked out when they saw this work because I had these beautiful paintings. But then, they're standalone, really strong pieces. Then you hold your phone up, and they move and they transform and they just open up into a different world. So I realized like this is my thing. So that was for, I guess, like 8 years ago. And before this process really began with the animation. So right as I was starting to develop this new style, but before I knew how to animate, I had a dream. and I'm holding this book in my hands, okay, in my dream. And there was a rose on the cover of the book, and it's three-dimensional and moving. And this poetry was written all around the book, and I didn't know what it was, but I remember feeling like it was the most beautiful book I'd ever seen in my life. And I also didn't understand what I was looking at, because like it wasn't a possible book. It was a magical book. And my I couldn't understand how this imagery was doing this. Of course, there was no phone in my dream. It was just the imagery itself was alive. And I woke up and I was like, what was that book? Who made that? Who made that? What is that? But I knew I made it. And I wrote it down in my journal. And I thought about that dream a lot, because as I started to learn how to animate, I was like, that's weird. Like I dreamt about my art doing that. But that book, like, what is that book? You know? So yeah. So at the end of the year in 2023, around the time of my birthday, I treated myself to a Kundalini retreat and also a major plant medicine journey. So I was really doing a bunch of getting it from all angles, and I really wanted to kind of do a system reset for the year. And in that journey, something came through that I it was a block that I didn't know that I had. It was like a soul block and a creative block, and I saw it, and I was able to release it. It was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. And I said in that moment, whatever you have for me, I'm ready. Because I was sort of hitting a wall with my art. I didn't know how many more paintings like this I could do, to be honest. I was having fun, but how far could I take this? And I said, I'm ready. Just give me what the thing is. 2 days later, okay, I'm at a brunch, and I see this girl at the brunch, this woman, and she's a fairy. She dresses up like a fairy. She does kids' parties in LA. She's really cute. And that's kind of what she does. And I look at her, and I see this rose on the wall. It was like a painting of a rose on the wall. And I look at her, and all of a sudden I said, Sarah, I'm going to put you in a book. It's going to be like an augmented reality children's book. And it's going to be like an adventure through mindfulness, but using the rose as a narrative structure. And I'm saying this, and I'm like, have you ever written a children's book? Do you know anything about children's books? And she's like, I don't know. It's like, God, like, how am I going to do this? Like, how do I even write a children's book? It's like, all right, it's okay. I'm going to get the plot tonight. I'm going to get the plot within 24 hours. That's what I said. And I kid you not, I got the plot in 24 hours through a meditation. I mean, I won't get into all the details. It was unbelievable what happened. And in the moment that I got the idea for the book, I saw it connected so quickly to that dream. And I realized that the dream that I had was the book. And it looked like an old illuminated manuscript. Okay. So I already knew what this book was going to look like. And as I started working on the book that night, did not it did not wait a second, because I know how ideas work. And if you get an idea like that, you don't sit on it. This was a force that came through. That's the only way I can describe it. It was almost like it had a complete life of its own. And it was so bursting at the seams, trying to come out. And all I had to do was get out of the way. That's all I had to do. And when I say get out of the way, I mean in a lot of ways, because this book, I thought I was going to have to hire an illustrator. I thought I was going to have to hire a writer, because I didn't know how to do it. I knew what my vision was, but I didn't know how to do it. But the technology was increasing so much with AI and with all these new tools, that I was able to take my whole artistic background and art direct this thing, like really like create, like produce this thing the way I wanted to produce it. And because there was poetry in my dream, and I didn't know what it said, but there was poetry, I thought, well, what if I try to rhyme? What happens if I try to rhyme? And girl, like, the story poured out through the rhyme. I did not know I could do that. I didn't know I could tell stories like that. But that's actually how the story came out. I couldn't I couldn't do it as easily when I was just trying to say it, but when I was rhyming it, that's when all the characters started coming through. And then one night I put my rhymes to music and started creating songs. And started creating songs. And then I was able to start singing them. So this latent talent came out. And I thought, why not? Like, why not sing songs? Why not just do everything I want to do in this book? Why not just go all in? And that honestly was the getting out of the way part, because if I had, I could have easily naysayed myself, but I chose in that moment just go full in, and then I got and my book. So it was 4 months later.
It's so beautiful.
Thank
There
you.
is so much that I want to unpack with this because, like,
It's a
it's
long-winded story.
yes, but it's such an incredible example of what it looks like to follow your intuition, even when you don't know where it's going to lead you or what you're supposed to do. And I think like so many listeners can relate to this feeling of, I know I have like a very broad feeling of what I want to do, right? Like I want to get paid to do my art, right? But I have
Yeah,
no idea what that looks like, right? And
yeah,
practical side of things, I don't know how that's gonna work, and financial standpoint, I don't know how that's gonna work, and right, like, how do I merge all of these worlds in my mind? And then this notion that you did so beautifully was that these signs came into your life, these nudges, these breadcrumbs, these and they got stronger and more intense with each sign that came
yes,
through, and you acted on it,
yes.
right?
I
Like,
mean,
you didn't wait.
yes, and speaking of signs, when I had the idea, when I knew that this was gonna be this rose thing, two things happened that were so insane. So I went to the beach that day with my sister when I told her about the plot, which was a traveling through this rose, and it was like a portal, and it was called Rosie and Raven. I mean, the whole book's about a rose. We go to the beach with my sister, I tell her everything, and she goes, "This is it. This is your path. This is it." Her dog ran down the beach, and I went to go follow the dog to go get the dog, and she led me literally into a spot on the beach. Surrounding me were roses planted in the sand in little rock altars, like someone had had a wedding or something there the day before. And I'm surrounded by roses, and I just burst into tears. I was like, Okay, I'm doing this is it. Like this is
Wow, like, talk about confirmation.
yeah. Yeah. And then I found out that the song that was playing in the ceremony when I actually released my block, the actual song that was playing in the ceremony is called Lineage of the Rose. And the lyrics of the song said, "A rose blooms when she is ready, not a moment too soon."
Oh my
I
god.
did not know that. Maybe I heard it, but I didn't know what the lyrics were. I was doing my own internal work, and I found out that that was the actual song that was playing. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
talk about
so
signs.
many little, like, pieces of magic that just
Yes.
lined up, and you were just so aware of them, right? And that's the
Yes.
thing, is that, like, sometimes we can notice those things and go, "That's cool," but not actually take that as a sign of, "This means I have to take action," right? "This means
Mhm.
I have to bring this through me." And, I mean, there is another piece to this that I also really, really wanna dive into, but there's something so important about allowing yourself to take action on those intuitive downloads, because as you take action the clarity comes, and I think that was very much the process for you, like once you started creating it, right, started write and you were like, okay, actually maybe I can write this. Oh, okay, like I do have tools for this, and you didn't let the what ifs, the hows, the all of the intricacies of like how am I going to make this happen stop you, and the technology, which is usually where most of us get tripped up, right? A lot of us kind of go, I have this great idea, and then I have all of the reasons why it can't happen.
Absolutely.
And you're just such a beautiful example of I'm being led and this is just going to happen if I just start. And you did. You didn't wait.
Did not wait 1 second. I could not wait, and it was so fun, and that's the other thing about doing these kind of creative endeavors. Like, you should be having fun. This is a joy. This should not be a slog. I mean, you're gonna hit challenges. It's gonna be there's gonna be times that are gonna feel like a grind for sure. I mean, I had to rewrite it, and that sucked. That
Yeah.
was really hard to tear it apart and redo the whole thing, but the seeds for how to do that, like, the clues were already in the book of how to rip it apart and reformat it. So, it was all there anyway. It was just like, "Okay, next step." Yeah.
So I want to ask you this one other piece, because you said one thing that really sticks out to me, which is that when the idea came through that moment, you were sitting in the restaurant and you said, then you went home and you meditated.
Yes.
I'm curious about that. Like, was this a common practice for you? Were you like a long time meditator? Did you channel in that meditation? What did that process look like?
Okay, so this is really cool. I have meditated for a really long time, but I don't have a consistent practice. I fall off the wagon all the time. And meditation, sitting in meditation isn't really the best for me. I don't know if that's like the way in, right? It's great, but maybe it's not like my way in. But at that time, because I had been doing the Kundalini, meditations, I was more in a mode of meditating. So I had been doing it daily for a little while. So I was more primed for it. And I had this energy moving through me after that. So after that morning, when it came through, I had this intense energy, and I was so excited. And I thought, okay, I really need to meditate. There was no question. Like, I needed to be still because whatever was coming through was loud, and I just needed to be quiet for just a minute. And so I sit down and I connect, and for the first time, somebody had told me to do this a while ago, but I felt a presence. And they had said, if you feel something like that, like ask their name, ask it what its name is. And that's another thing that I sort of go, oh, but I could like ask it what its name is, and a name's gonna come into my head, but like I'm probably just making it up. Yeah, I question a lot of that stuff that comes through because I'm just creating it, sort of. I can't tell if am I imagining it or is it real? It doesn't actually matter, to be honest. The more you question it, like the less it's gonna work. But so I'm sitting there and I feel this very strong energy. And I start to cry out of the left side of my eye only. And I start to sweat out of the left side of my armpit only. So I'm having a really weird experience with water coming out of my body, specifically on the left side. And I feel my body leaning just to the left, like just my head. So I had this water coming out, and I feel this really beautiful presence come through. I mean, it was so beautiful, so peaceful. And like, I felt like bliss. It was amazing. And then I said, okay, what's your name? And I said it out loud. What's your name? And I get this image on the sides of my mind, and I just see these black wings go like this on my peripheral vision. And I just thought Raven. And I'm like, okay, your name's Raven. Great. That's a cool name. And I come out of the meditation. It was this beautiful, I mean, it wasn't a long, maybe 30 minutes of this meditation, but I met this being. I really felt like I was communicating with something. And I come out of my meditation and I go on my computer because I'm like, I gotta find where I wrote down this dream. I gotta find it. Like, I need to reference, where did I put it? Right? So I'm putting in my journal is all written in a Word document. So I'm searching 3D rows and moving rows, and I can't find anything. Like, I could not find it. And I knew I wrote this down, couldn't find it. So I kind of gave up and I just start writing. And that's when the whole plot came out. Boom, came right out. And I looked at it and I was like, that's crazy. Like, I just wrote a story. And the story is called Rosie and Raven. And as I started like more creating this book, so this is Raven, this is the little girl. And as I'm writing it, I realized that it's an autobiography. That little girl looks exactly like me when I was a little girl. I didn't know that I was doing that in the moment. It was just this sweet little girl. Turns out Raven is me. And the being that came through was me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you think your higher self, a different lifetime for your soul? What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't even, it's so big and so ineffable that I don't know what that even means, but it felt like me. It felt like the me that already did this was coming through, like the both the wisest version of myself, the most actualized version of myself, and also at the time I didn't know that for sure because it really felt like a being,
Mhm.
but it felt like a very wise, very, I don't have the words for what this being was, but that's what came through. It definitely felt like me. And as I was working on this book and this story, it's me. Like, I'm coming through it. I'm coming through it. And all I have to do is let her come through.
Yeah.
And it is the inner child. Like, it's the child and the highest version. It's like both came through. It's very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many questions I want to ask you. Like, which way do I want to go? I first want to take a second to like highlight this book, you guys. Like, these pictures move when you put your phone in front of them, and there's music that comes with it and songs, and like there's so many of them, and like we'll definitely like zoom in on and like this artwork. Like, come on, like it's stunning artwork. Like, I can't. This is my son's favorite page, by the way.
Yeah, I love that one.
There's so much beauty all around, and if you rush, you'll miss it. A rose contains a secret world that you can always visit. As you grow, you might forget the lovely creature.
It's so beautiful, but I want to talk a little bit more about this creative process here because then you and I had a session. I think when you had already created the book, I think you had already written it, but you were just
Yes.
deciding how do I publish this, or like
Yeah.
you were kind of already at the end of this project. But something really crazy happened with us, and it was
Yeah.
the biggest piece of confirmation I had ever received of the work that I do, because I can channel a spirit guide all day long, and nobody can ever confirm for me, for real, if that's what their guide looks like, right? Like,
Yeah.
for all they know, I'm making it up. And we had this beautiful session together, and I start channeling, and first of all, I don't know, there's something about your energy, Kayla, because when we were doing our meditation, I always do a meditation at the beginning and I could feel it. It like it was palpable. I
Mhm.
never felt my body relax so strongly. Like the energy was pulsing through my body. And this guide that came through, like, didn't even let me finish the meditation. And I remember and then I described this beautiful guide to you, and I described this fairy. And I
Yeah.
tell you, right, this fairy with long, wavy brown hair. And I was like, she's wearing this long red dress, and it's like really bright, and she's got wings. And you go and I think I even said she had like a crown around her head, like a flower crown or something, I don't remember. And you're like, "Stop, like, this is so crazy." And you
Yeah.
run and you grab your book,
Yeah.
and
And
you
I was
open
like,
it up to, like,
yeah,
page 1 or
here,
something.
it's literally this.
Right, like, right there, yeah, like, you're
Yeah.
like, "Is this what you're seeing?" And my jaw, like, hit the floor because
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm seeing. Like, I was so speechless. And this is first of all, like nobody had ever painted or like drawn. Did you paint these? I assume you painted them. Or it's
They're a
all
mix of it's digital, it's all digital.
oh,
It's a
digital. Okay.
major mix of all my techniques, yes.
Right. Okay. But I've never seen like an actual like artistic creation of the vision that I see in my head. And this was it to like the T. Like it was exactly what I was trying to describe. And here it is. And so first of all, big moment of confirmation for me because you
Yeah.
went, yeah, that is my guide. That's who's been writing this book with me. And so I'm curious then, throughout the rest of the creative process, like, did Rosie, this fairy, like come through? Did she speak to you? How did you reconnect with her besides that meditation as you were continuing down the creative process? Because I imagine it didn't all happen in one day, right? There was time of creating all the images, right?
Yeah.
And creating the rhymes. Like, how did you reconnect throughout the process to get her to come in?
That's a good question. I never needed to necessarily have her speak to me directly. It wasn't like that. It was, she communicated with me that whole process through roses. So that was really interesting because you can always look for things appear when you're looking for them, right? It's like, oh, it's a sign. I have never seen so many roses come into my field as during this process. And the way the roses were coming in, the things that they were teaching me as they came in, I mean, my mind was really blown. I never even thought about a rose, honestly, before. I barely thought about roses. And here I am just like learning about the power of this rose. And whenever I needed kind of confirmation about something, I swear I would see a rose. And I'm like, okay, I just trust. So my process, because it's been psychic through art, it was the same through this book. It was the exact same process. So I would do something and it'd be like, that's right. That's the direction. Follow that thread. It was the same process that they've always communicated with me through my art. So that's just happened with the book. And it wasn't unknown to me, this process, but it was 4 months straight. Okay. When I've done paintings before, I've been in it for a week maybe, or like obsessed, and I'd lose time and go into a vortex. I literally went into a vortex for 4 months, and everything in my life was magic. Everything was magic. I was operating on a different frequency. I felt like I was living in a dimension that other people could not see. And all I wanted to do was bottle it and just give it to someone, just be like, this is what it feels like to live in this space. And when I knew it was a high, and I was like, oh God, I hope I don't crash from this. And I did crash because, and this was really interesting. Another part of our reading. So you had said in our reading that there was going to be a publisher, Simon and Schuster, you said. So I was waiting for the publishers to start fighting over this book. I'm like, send in my money. Then and it was just like, I was like, it's fine. They're going to be fighting over this. And it was just crickets. They were not, I wouldn't say they weren't interested, but like not really. They didn't understand it. They didn't think there was a market for it. It doesn't look like a normal kid's book. So they were also like, well, it's not going to be marketable for kids. So I got really down and dejected. And it really took like 4 months of waiting and hoping and just like questioning before I decided, first of all, I need to rewrite it. So I thought, I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to reformat this thing because it needed a different structure for the story. And then once I did that, I thought, I'm going to self-publish. And interestingly enough, so the publisher never came through. And I'm thinking, God, Jessica Rachel was right on so many things, but like, the publishing thing didn't happen. And then we had our session after I found out my amazing news, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I had another emergency session with you because I had a lot of questions and that I needed very quick sort of guidance with because things were moving very fast. And you said, it's coming through again, this distributor with Simon and Schuster. And my jaw dropped because last time you said publisher, and then this time you said distributor. Now, this is almost 2 years later. This time you said the word distributor. My jaw dropped because the day before we had our call, I got a text message from a woman that I was trying to get help me with my Amazon page. And she randomly said, coincidentally, I just had lunch with a distributor from Simon and Schuster. And this is something that we might want to think about for you. And I went, you've got to be kidding me. And then I was like, Jessica Rachel said distributor this time. And you don't know anything about publishing. You don't know probably the difference between distributor or publisher. I barely even knew what that was at the time.
Yeah, no, that's so crazy.
Yeah. So as far as the messages that came through, it was just following my normal creative process. They always coming through. And I'm very lucky like that. I definitely I feel them. I say them because it feels like a team. Like it feels like some of them, especially with this book, it felt like story and song. And I mean, I remember saying they're so chattery, like they talk to me all the time. I could feel them like, do it like this, no, do this, do this. And then when you said there was a team, you said there was a fairy, and then you said 2 other fairies were there too. And they're actually also in this book on page, they're also on the illustration. There's 2 more fairies on there,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Yeah. There's 2 fairies in the first or second page in the back.
Yeah, there they are. There they are. And I saw those
Yeah, they were
too.
there. Yeah, they were in there. And you said that, and I feel that there are multiples and that there's like a team and they want this message. They just want this message to come through. And it really is a new way of experiencing books. And it's a new way. And what I realized the strength of this message is not only the message that's in the book about mindfulness and gratitude and appreciation and your language and the power of all of these kind of superpowers that we have inside. That's the message of the book. But for me, it was about embodying those things in order to bring the next things that came in. If I didn't do what the book told me to do, if I didn't trust so fully in this process, I mean, it's in there. Trust, that's in there. And if I didn't do that, girl, like I would not be here. I would not be here. If I didn't change my language, if I didn't stop saying, it's never going to happen. When is it going to happen? Why is it not happening? And instead saying, it's going to happen. I have this, it has happened already. The book is written. The dream, I dreamed that dream. The book was written, right? So it's a whole perspective shift. So I had to really change I had to change my perspective while I was writing this book. Like this book forced me to really up-level myself spiritually. And that's the real message of the book. Like I'm the message of the book because as the journey of me creating this book, is the journey of the creative process. And that's the journey of that's your life is your art. It's not just you're making this art. You're making your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. And guys, like this book, like it touches on all of these beautiful themes, right? And like all about, right, how you can uplift your mindset and move forward. And you have to trust in the power of words. And I'm telling you guys, the best thing about this book, and this is what really doesn't come through in words, you have to pick up this book and experience it. You feel transported into this other realm that, that you obviously were living in for those 4 months.
It was.
And like you did bottle it up and put it into a book. And when you hold this book and you experience the images moving and you hear the music, like you do get transported. And it's so powerful. Like there is an energy and a life force of its own that lives within this book. And only somebody who is really leaning into their intuition could bring that forward into the world. And so it's
Yeah.
just a testament to you and how open you are.
Thank
And
you.
I want to pinpoint one other thing because I'm curious if you made this connection, but we talk about this a lot on this podcast, the different types of clairs and the way that psychic energy or intuitive downloads come through. And what's blatantly obvious with you is that your claircognizance, what steps forward, is the strongest. And
Yeah.
right, like there's this feeling of I don't know how I know these things, but it just drops into me. And even from the fact that you said that you had to automatic write, right? That is
Yes.
sort of the strongest tool usually of someone who's
Mhm.
claircognizant. And then there's this other place of, I always say I'm so jealous of people who are predominantly claircognizant because it is actually, in my opinion, the strongest clair to have, the strongest connection to source that you can have because it's source working through you. It's
Mm.
like the downloads are coming and your body is being used as a vessel to bring these things into the world. And I see this for artists a lot. I mean, I have another client who's a very incredibly talented musician, and she's like, I don't know where these songs come from. They just come through me. And it then just becomes almost like your job to get in the zone, I guess, and then
Yes.
allow it to come through. And so, and I guess what my question is there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast and maybe have already identified, maybe I'm predominantly claircognizant. And there's maybe a little bit of a dance between sometimes it moves me, right? Sometimes it just comes over me and I live in that zone. And
Yeah.
sometimes there's an active process in recreating that mode and that getting into that place where it can come through. And I'm curious if you can share with us, do you have a process that you have to go through if you are not in the zone in the moment, it hasn't
Mm.
washed over you yet, and you're trying to get in there, or do you often have to just wait for the wave to hit you?
To be honest, I'm a dancer
Mm.
and movement really helps. So I listen to house music, like that's my church. I love that music. I love melodic house music. And I just throw down, just dance, move. And when I'm in that space, a lot of times ideas will come through. So through movement, that's super helpful for me. I
Yeah.
get a lot of ideas. I move the energy. So I think sometimes if you feel stuck, move the energy physically. And I can't beg for things to come through. If they're not going to come through, they're not going to come through. And some people say just show up every day and write. A lot of really really successful creatives will tell you they're at their instrument or they're at their computer or whatever it is that they're doing. They're there at 9 a.m. every morning and they're writing. That's not me. That's not how it works for me because these things are they're different. I don't know. My process is different. It comes in waves and then I need to rest. I can't be doing it all. I mean, I really do require a break. So it's just like allowing yourself the downtime. When you're having a downtime, just like let it be down. But also don't think that inspiration is going to hit you like it hit me because that was a culmination of 9 years of devoted work. And it hit me because I was doing the work. It didn't hit me out of nowhere. And it was a logical next step. And I had already developed my creative process. I knew how to make this book. Even though this book required completely new technology that was happening while I made it. Like literally the updates were happening in lockstep with me creating this book. I didn't know how I was going to do certain things. And then a new update would happen. And I was like, well, now I can do it.
Wow.
Literally on the week. So the timing, that's one thing. That's a big one. So trust the timing of things. Like you might not be ready. You might not be ready for the thing. The world might not be ready yet. So everything lines up when it lines up. And there's like that. I should write a book about patience because that is my absolute hardest thing. So maybe if I write one, then I'll be better at that. But I could not have made this book without having done all that work
Yeah.
and just going and pushing through, even though, look, my art never, people in LA really love my art, but it never, I should have did Art Basel. I was trying for a long time to kind of get it out into the world and it never did the thing that I was hoping that it would do. But like, I just kept making it because it was fun and I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you have to show up as the inspiration hits and know that it's gonna get you where it needs to go in the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can't be the one in the driver's seat.
No.
Know that there are sources behind you at work all the time, and it's really like
Yeah.
to be the vessel. Uh,
And speaking of sources at work behind me, I guess we can get
yeah,
like
I was gonna say
quickly
we
into
have
this.
such big news. This is such a test.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my next question is, well, when first of all, this is like the shining example of when you live in alignment, when you step into your authenticity, you do 1% of the work or 5% of the work, and God, the universe, like does the other 95%. And they show up beyond your wildest dreams in ways that
Yeah.
you could have never imagined for yourself. So please share with us. You have huge news
Okay.
that happened since you
Yeah.
created this thing. What?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I've been, as a creative, the part of marketing yourself is not that fun. We don't love that part. And it's really hard. That's actually the hard work. The easy part was writing the book comparatively. And this part I hate. Knocking on doors saying, no, no, there's so many rejections, so many doors closed and doors open too, but like lots of closed doors and it's hard work. Back in August, I had just gotten my new edition. I had just created my new edition of this book. I had been prototyping it and then I built a whole new AR platform for it. I mean, I really spent a long time getting this book to a level that I thought was really ready for everyone to experience. So I decided I'm going to bring it to this trade show. And my sister was like, we found out about this trade show and she's like, you have to go to this trade show. I was like, I can't go to this trade show. It's a ton of money. I don't even have my books. I didn't physically have the new books. She's like, go with your prototype. I was like, oh, I don't like that prototype. So I made some calls and I realized I could actually get the books overnighted to me. And I talked to the show and I said, oh, it's too late. I can't get into that show. And they're like, no, you can get in. And I'm like, oh, all my excuses. No, I'm gonna have to go to the show. Like it's everything was like, oh sure, come on in. And I'm like, oh God. So I go to the show. My sister says it just takes one person. Okay. She's like, it just takes one person. So I would like to show you here the person that I have been centered, focusing my mind on for the last year and a half. So I made this vision board when I first started writing the book. So this is the vision board that I made. And it's a really incomplete, crappy vision board, but right there. Okay.
Hello, Oprah. Middle of there.
So there's my weird vision board. I don't really know what's going on there, but yeah, sandwiched between a big penguin and like some dudes. But she's there, she's on there. And she's the person, like she is the person that I wanted this book to. Anyway, so I do this trade show. And right before the night of the trade show, and I will say this, I did another meditation. And I am a powerful manifester. I will give myself that credit. Very powerful when I really do it. I mean, it's really strong. So I said, I'm going to send out invitations to everyone that needs to come to me because, girl, I am tired. Like, I am tired of doing this. So, like, please come to me. I need help. Like, yes. So I sent invitations. I said, come to me. Like, you know where I am. Just find me. I'm here. I'm showing up. This is all I can do. This is the most I can do. And while I'm in this trade show showing my work, the show director they decided they wanted to film the book. And they're like, it's so cool. We want to do a feature. So they had the cameras set up. And while they had the cameras set up the next day, these two people walk by and the show director says, oh, can you do a demo for them? So I said, sure. So I did my demo of my new book that I had just gotten from China. Like I hadn't even seen them yet, honestly. Like they came one day before the show started. It was crazy. So I'm doing my demo. And I just happened then to look down after I'm doing this whole demo at their name tags. And it was O Magazine. It was Adam Glassman from O Magazine. It was actually like the craziest experience of my life, because here they are. Not only are they here, but the cameras are on me. The show is filming this. This is like a synchronistic moment that couldn't even be orchestrated by the show themselves. It can only be orchestrated by like the highest powers there are to send these two people here in this moment that the cameras are on me. And maybe they only stopped there because the cameras were on me and it was like a little commotion. And maybe they were curious about what was going on. So they sent, so I get their information and I'm like, this is, I can't believe this happened. And they were speaking very highly of the book. So I could tell they really liked it. And they ended up requesting that they sent a messenger to come pick up the book. So my feeling when that happened was like, the number of times that I begged people, can I send you a copy? Random influencers, please let me send you a copy of this book at my own expense, right? And then to have their team send for the book. What a different energy that is, right? So they sent for the book, and before they did that, I basically put so much energy into this book physically. The book that I was going to send to her, and I imagined that Oprah's hands were holding my book, and I could feel her energy of her looking at the book. And I thought, this book is going into her hands. It is. And the whole time I thought maybe it was going to make the holiday list, and I was really excited about that possibility. But actually, I found out 5 weeks later that it made Oprah's favorite things, which means that it was in her hands and she did experience it. And I sent it directly to her. I mean, this book sent itself directly into her hands, but holy shit, like that happened. And that is everyone's dream. And I have at that time, I hired a PR person a week before I found out that news. So she didn't get me there. And I had no agent, I had no marketing, I had no publisher. I published it myself. So to have the book find its way to her is like, you can't deny that there is a force working to orchestrate this. You can't, there's no way. There's no other way to explain it other than going, magic, magic, magic. And that's why in the beginning, it's like, I wish there was another word. Because magic doesn't cut it.
Yeah, right? It's
Yeah.
like divine providence, I guess. There's no
Yes.
other way to describe it. Like it's
Yeah.
so crazy. And the thing is like, yes, it's magic, but it also wasn't a coincidence. Like in the sense that like this can happen for anybody who really steps into their authenticity. Right? Like when you
It
really
can.
step into your
Yes.
intuition, you really show up and you let go of the blocks and you just say, source, use me, show me, like use me as a vessel to be of service. And you
Yeah.
take those steps. Like, of course, there was work involved, but when you're in such a flow state, like it doesn't necessarily feel like work, right? And, of course, yes, there's some trust and there's some patience that happens, but like, everything always conspires for you. And this is what we're always trying to share here on the podcast. Like, really, really, the universe is always conspiring with you, not against you. And the more
Yeah.
that you believe that to be true, I mean, this magic can happen every day if you let it. And
Totally.
it's so
And you know what the really cool thing is? I mean, the whole time that the publishers were saying no, and I had an agent in the beginning, and that relationship didn't work out. And then I published it myself, and I realized now I own my rights. I own my work. There was a reason that all those relationships fell away. And this book is meant for me to own, not for someone else to own. When you're looking for that kind of validation, I mean, it's actually a whole different way of getting a book out into the world. It's a harder path, but I own my book. And like, and that tells you that it is working for you, even when it feels like a no, or it feels like one door is closing. They say like rejection is just redirection. And I'm still learning that, but I'm much better with rejection now. Much better with rejection now. And rejection has always been a big thing for me. And that's been a big battle. But man, thank God I got rejected.
Right, because now look, like it was all part of the plan.
Totally. And in the same week I got that email from Oprah, I got a rejection from a craft fair that I wanted to show this at, like in LA, and I just started laughing so hard because I'm like,
Yeah. You're like,
who
which
cares? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Kayla, I feel like I could talk to you all day because the magic that just pours off of your aura is just palpable. Like you can feel it. And everybody needs to feel your energy. And that is really what comes through in this book. So I would love, first of all, if you could share how everybody who's listening to this can get their hands on this gorgeous book, where they can find it, how they can get it in their hands, where can they find, when does everything launch with the Oprah's favorite thing list? Like, tell us all the things.
Okay. So you can find it at rosieandraven.com and it's available on Amazon. Hopefully, my link has not really been working, but should be available now. If it's not, rosieandraven.com. And yeah, the news is out. So as of a couple of days ago, I can scream that from the rooftops and it feels really good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such a major accomplishment. And like, we're so happy for you and so excited. I want to ask you one last thing before we go, which is there any last thing that you want to share with the listener who is in this space of, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm here
Yeah.
for something, and I just can't figure out what that is.
Yeah.
I do have for them.
Yeah. So I remember a long time ago, I was showing my art at this event and this guy said, I wish I could create masterpieces like there. I want to create like masterpieces like these. And I remember I said to him, like, I never set off to create masterpieces. That wasn't a thing. If you look at my Instagram, I could show you the moment that I can show you this like little snake, a rubber snake that I got really excited about because I was able to like paint it and do all kinds of stuff to it. And you can follow the trajectory of that funny little snake that I got obsessed with because it was so cool. You can follow it through as a thread through my work. And it's a really cool story that I can't get into now, but just getting super curious about that little prop is the thing that led me to where I am now. I'm not kidding. Every step was the following my curiosity. And it's like, what happens if I do this? Oh, well then what happens if I do this? And it's just falling in love with something and exploring where that takes you to the very, very end of where that can go creatively. Just keep following anything you're curious about. Then I've gone on the street, picked up leaves off the ground. I'll like paint them silver and I'll play with them in the light. And I turn them into these huge paintings because they're beautiful and they're fun and they're magical. And all of a sudden, this little leaf that everyone will walk by and that just will crumble to dust in 5 minutes now is transformed into this magical thing that, exists as long as it's going to exist in one of my pieces. And all I can say is you follow your curiosity because you can't imagine where it can take you. That's the point. If you could imagine where it was going, you would be scared shitless. You wouldn't be able to do it. If someone showed me people's faces when they experienced my work and said, in 5 years, you're going to be making work that's going to make people's faces do this, I would be like, but how? Like, that seems really intimidating, actually. Like, how will I get from here to there? No, thank God I didn't see that. Thank God I just was like, "Ooh, I like dangling a snake from a piece of string and watching it circle around. That's cool." Like now I like draping it on me and taking a picture. And now what happens if I put this into AI? What does that produce? And then I learn AI. And then, it's just like it leads you into the next thing. So my advice is follow every spark, even if it seems like nothing, because it's not nothing. You can't imagine where it might take you. So that's where the trust comes in, and that's where the joy and the play comes in. If something's giving you joy and you feel play and you feel excited about it and it makes you into a better person, like it brings out the best in you, you're showing up that way in the world, first of all, is the secret. Like you showing up as your best self in the world as this light, that's the thing that changes the world, first of all. So you don't have to do anything else. If all you ever do is do things that make you feel happy, you're doing it. You're already a success. It's true. So you're already perfect. Your vibration is great. Just whatever gives you that vibration, and the special icing on the cake is if it takes you somewhere really amazing and beautiful. But that doesn't always happen. It doesn't always have to have an end.
And the funny thing is, when you do it in that place of play, that place of curiosity and play, that is the inevitable result. But you can't
Yeah.
have the hope. You can't hold this hope that it's going to. You kind of just
Nope.
live in the play, live in that moment of curiosity and play in the present. and know,
Hmm.
hey, it will, and without holding on to the fact that it's going to lead to something, but inevitably that is what will happen. And you are such living proof of that.
Thank you. Yeah, if you have ever read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, I'm a like walking, breathing example of her book.
Amazing. Okay, I'm taking that recommendation, gonna read it for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much for doing this episode with me. I am so incredibly inspired by your story and by everything that you do, and a little bit jealous of your artistic abilities. But I swear, in another life, I would love to be as talented as an artist as you. Like, it's just so stunning the work that you do. And I always wish that I could, because I see the most gorgeous images in my head when I channel
Yeah.
for people. And if I wish I could bring them to life the way that you do. And so it's just
Yeah.
it's such an inspiration. So thank you so, so much for being here. And yeah, hopefully we'll have to have you back on as things progress. Thank
Yeah, that'd be super fun. Thank you so much, Jessica Rachel. This was really great.
you.